Hi guys, this is Emily from Hopscotch Interactive, and as you may know, Hopscotch Interactive is a real estate marketing agency. We create all sorts of media for our real estate clients for residential and commercial. And I'm often asked, what do you do if you're just starting out? How do I get started in this business? What should I do to just kick things off for myself? And what I really want to share with you is that it is totally possible to start a real estate photography business, both as sort of a gig that you do as a side hustle or as something that you're interested in doing. And you can also make it a full-time profession for yourself. And I would probably have to go into a much longer video to share sort of how that evolves, and especially how it evolved for me. But if you want to know just the basics to get into real estate photography, then that's what I'm going to talk about for the next several minutes here. So one thing you should know is that there are a lot of videos on the internet where people are saying, press a button and make $100,000 a year. So literally, if that were possible, and if people were just pressing a button and making $100,000 a year, I promise you that it wouldn't last that long as a business, because there would be so many people that would be trying to do it. And what they would realize very quickly is that, like with Matterport, you can press a button, but that by no means gives you any expertise in the system, and it by no means helps you with the number one thing that you need in order to be successful with your business, which is to be good at managing your time, getting clients for yourself, making sales, and actually running a business that is profitable. So that's the thing, is that real estate photography is no different than any other business that you would ever try, insofar as that the skills that are required to be successful as a small business, I think that those are the exact same skills that you would need even if you wanted to start a business, making furniture or, dog grooming, or think of a ton of other things where, of course, some level of expertise is needed in the skills that you're going to need to be able to doing. But this is a business where no special certification is actually required. However, the amount of time and study that you put into it will result in you being more successful at your craft, but it won't necessarily make you better at running a business. So the first thing you should know is that for very little money, you can actually get started testing this out and investing with a credit card or with wherever you're going to be sourcing your hardware. You can get the hardware that you need in order to get started in your business. If I were putting together a kit just to get started and to try to have a sort of all-in-one solution for my clients so that they could come to me for pretty much everything except for something I'm not qualified for, like maybe drone or aerial photography, then I would invest in number one, I would invest in a Ricoh Theta Z1 camera, because you can use that for your Matterport tours. You can use that for your Zillow 3D tours. You can also use that for the iGuide Planix system as well. So it's a very, very versatile device. It has a 1-inch sensor. It costs a little over $1,000. If you're part of the Zillow program, then you can actually get a discount on the cameras as well. And so that's if you're a Zillow photographer. So I think that that is a must. And to go along with that, I would get a monopod, a Bushman Claremont monopod with the counterweights. I think I got mine from B&H. I will put links and everything in the bottom here. And so with the Z1, you're going to start getting into sort of the realm of 360 and the realm of virtual tours. And now there are a plethora of different tour softwares that you can use, but you need to have a professional grade or, prosumer and above grade of 360 camera, I think, to really be competitive in your market. Because remember, there are a lot of other people who have been doing this a lot longer than you have, even if you're in an area where it's slow to innovate, and so you'll be coming in with the latest and greatest thing. Just keep in mind that there are always competitive pressures that are coming from places you may not expect, and so other folks will, they'll see that, and you will not be the only one for long, if it's a real way to make money in your market. So that's one thing to look at, is just your gear. Second of all, I wanted to share with you guys the camera. Oh, that was kind of loud, but I want to share with you the very first camera that I used when I got started in my business. So again, I came at my photography business hoping I could just do virtual tours, because that was the thing I was the most interested in. But then I realized that I was already going to be going to a job site, and if I got the job in the first place. And so what was something that I already knew for many years in working in sales was that it's always best to be able to sell the same client more. So what we always refer to as upselling. So I was trying to sell them a virtual tour, but what they really needed, what 100% of all of my clients in the residential side were going to need, was to be providing them with high quality images for their listings. So I picked up at the time what I thought was going to be a really great camera for me. It was a Rebel T5 with a 10 to 18 millimeter lens, and I shot on this camera for a long time. I shot on this camera until I actually felt like I mastered it, and I was ready to move up to a full frame sensor, and I was starting to notice and feel sort of inadequate in my photography compared to some of the other images that I was seeing. And at the time I was, let's say this was like 2016, 2017, and I started to notice there was a lot more mirrorless. Maybe they were Sony images that I was seeing coming on when I was looking at other listings and trying to sort of see how we could improve. And certainly with only 3 brackets, which are possible, that's when you have multiple exposures of the same shot, and then you blend them in order to get the the low lights, the highlights, the shadows, and everything blended perfectly. I felt like I wanted to also automatically be able to set my camera to fire off 5 exposures. So that was really important to me, and so then I upgraded. But this camera at the time cost me $599. You could probably get into this camera. I think it would still be a good training camera, and you could probably pick it up on eBay for less than $200. Maybe the lens is another $150 used, or $200. So I think you can actually do really well just buying economical gear and testing it out. I don't think you need to rush out and spend $3,000 on a brand new Sony if you're not even sure you're going to be successful in this business. So those are a couple things that you need. You need to have a laptop or a computer that can process quickly, meaning lots of RAM, lots of processing power, because you're going to be having a lot of images transfer and move around. So make sure you get a laptop. For example, I think my laptops, my desktop also has a 27-inch monitor, 27-inch screen. So having a lot of real estate to be able to see your real estate photos is really important. And the best deal in the universe, which you're going to need to get, is for you to also pick up a license from Adobe for their photographer bundle, which is Photoshop and Lightroom. So you may not even need to use Photoshop. You could probably get away with just using Lightroom. And I think that the skills required to use Photoshop are a little more advanced, but certainly in Lightroom, playing with the exposure and the sliders and doing HDR merge in Lightroom when you're first getting started, that's going to actually be great training for you. And it's, like I said, it's like $9.99 a month. And so just get used to these subscriptions being a part of the cost of doing business, and make sure that you budget for that, because it's going to be an ongoing cost. Even if you're not busy, those subscriptions can add up and create quite a bit of overhead. So I highly recommend, though, that you do that, you invest in that, because that is something you won't be able to live without. Let's see. So I didn't mention buying a Matterport camera right away. And the reason I don't think you need to buy a Pro 2 camera right away is that right now it's possible to shoot at least residential real estate using and very quickly learning how to use it with a Ricoh Theta Z1. Now, it's not going to be as accurate for floor plans, but if you also can and have the ability to invest in a iPhone, if you can get the latest, the iPhone 13, which also has cinematic mode for video, or if you can get the iPad from 2020, which is the one that comes with the LiDAR. I have that here, and I highly, highly recommend that. And also I have these cases because I wear them, wear them with straps when I'm out in the field. But those are the kinds of things that are going to be indispensable tools for you. So yeah, anyone can buy those just by going to Best Buy or to B&H or Amazon or wherever to get their products, or you can go to eBay and get them used. I think getting used gear that's good is awesome. I've got so much stuff that I've picked up off of Craigslist when I wanted to get new lenses and saved a ton of money doing that. And what's cool is that you always meet other photographers when you buy gear used online, and so I really like doing that also. It always feels like you're sharing your love and passion for creating photography with other people who really appreciate it. So it's nice to meet other like-minded folks. But the thing about this business, and this is what I said at sort of at the top of this, is that it's more about who you are as a person and your ability to go out and get sales and your ability to grow relationships with your clients. So if you are the best photographer in the area, in the world, you may be the worst salesperson and you may be the worst business manager. And so that will mean that your business is probably going to be limited to the people that you know and your ability to market yourself, even if you're a fantastic photographer. And so there is this question that I would ask you, which is, are you looking to manage people? Are you looking to grow a team? Are you looking to innovate and create your own software or solutions or brand that can be reflecting some innovation? Because if so, then it's really easy to start a services business where you're creating photography and you're like every other photography company, which is like somewhat limited by the bandwidth of that person or those few people that are there on the team. But if you have bigger dreams and you want to innovate and do something entirely new, then you're going to need to be able to have the support, whether that's a financial resource that you create for yourself by investing in yourself, or maybe you are looking for outside investment and you want to have a startup. So I've done it both ways. So I had a startup. It was a spatial computing startup for real estate, and it actually had evolved out of what I was doing at Hopscotch Interactive with some like-minded folks in the XR community. And I think that it was amazing. It was a great experience to build a startup and to build a technology startup. And I also learned that, while for many reasons that we didn't continue with that company, I also realized that having a successful services business is in itself quite a huge job and a huge task. And that the thing that's so amazing about it is that it is a very organic business. So if you create a name for yourself and you create relationships with your clients, they will refer you. They will share your work. And in fact, these days, clients will tag you on Instagram. Other realtors will see your work. There's, like I said, I think this is very organic and kind of amazing community that begins to sprout up around the work that you do when you start to get to know the realtors in your area. And but like I said before, like there is always going to be competition. So I think that the reason there's competition is because you haven't found the thing that differentiates you. And it's a little bit like, they taught us this in business school, which was, are you going to get a piece of the pie, or are you going to make a bigger pie? And so for me, and this is just my philosophy on business, is that, I want to make a bigger pie. I want to make a pie that is one that is going to enable me to not directly compete in the beginning with other people, but to do my own thing. And but the way you get there is by having a skill and having expertise in your area, not your physical area, but in your sort of area of knowledge, so that you can go beyond that. Anyway, I think that with a few $1,000s of investment in gear, you can 100% get started. Like I said, the barriers to entry are super low, and so you can absolutely become a photographer. But like anything else, your ability to have the business acumen that it takes, which is, having full ability to manage things like QuickBooks or Google Workspace and all of the different programs, Google Sheets and Google Documents, and being able to tell the story for your business and what sets you apart is a huge, huge game changer. And I think that, if you are on the fence about it and you don't know if this can be your full-time profession, then the only way to figure it out is to give it a try. And right now it's winter, and or it's almost winter, it's like late fall, and I actually started my business this time of year. I started my business in the fourth quarter of the year, and which is now again something that in hindsight I wish I had realized was like the slow season, but I didn't know that, so I just thought I was really bad in the beginning because I had no clients. And it took months until I actually, we got over the holidays, and then real estate started picking back up and there was demand. But my first paid customers came from personal relationships where I picked up the phone, I cold called, even though I knew these people, so they were slightly warm. It was still a risk, and they also really needed me to have the ability to provide more than just one service. So virtual tours plus photography. And I can't tell you how many times I've now gone on shoots where photography is the main thing that we do, and then the virtual tour is the upsell. And it's just the nature of this business that, crush it and don't give up, and be relentless on at least mastering one of these things, because that will be your bread and butter, and then the other things you can grow from, and you can expand all the things that you offer, so that you can become more of a full service agency. And so, yeah, I know, like I said, there's a lot of guys out there that are saying, like, push a button and make $100,000. But you know what? Like, you got to be a salesperson, and you got to know how to do that part of this business, because if you don't know how to do that part of this business, then you won't get very far. And I would say that you have to ask yourself if this is the thing you want to do every day. And if it is, then you should pursue it. And I would be more than delighted to hear that some of the folks that are out there watching this are excited about doing real estate photography. They want to try it. They want to get into it. They're, trying to suck up all these videos on the internet and on YouTube and learn about it. But like I said, I think with minimal investment in gear, you can get started, but you got to attack it like a business and be smart about it, because that is what is going to differentiate you from somebody else who's just maybe a really good photographer, or maybe even not a really good photographer, but is but is not able to be that full package for somebody. So that's my advice. I hope that you found this informative. I like to post videos every week if I can. Sometimes they're specific to technology, sometimes they're specific to new gear that's come out, and then other times it's really just business philosophy for you to be better at what you do and for you to think about yourself as an entrepreneur. I hope I can inspire you. If you liked this video, please like it, please subscribe, and I really look forward to reading your comments and to hearing what you think. And for anybody who is just starting out and wants to check out some of the gear that I mentioned, I'm going to put the links below. And of course, there are many other things that you can try, but I think that, get started. Find a place that you can go to start taking photographs, and I'll definitely post again once I see the comments and see what people say. But I appreciate you watching this, and thanks so much.